We'll begin recording.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see all of your faces and names here and to be together in this weird way, this weird, beautiful way that we continue to congregate. Um, I am Mark David Buckles. I'm the music director for Sanctuary Boston. I'm going to get us started off with a song by Peter Mayer, which has just become just a staple, much beloved song of the Unitarian Universalist community and beyond. And it's called Blue Boat Home. Just a beautiful song and a beautiful image about us spinning through space on this fragile little boat we call Earth. I hope you'll sing along with me. Low below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mark David. Well, I'm here with Evie at our inaugural post-vaccination friend singing together in harmonies, which is the first time this has happened in a long time. So when I think about the theme of homemade, for me, homemade has a lot to do with sitting at home and singing with other people. So as we all navigate kind of re-entry and what that looks like in different ways, I'm just feeling grateful. Our next gathering song is There Are More Waters Rising by Sarah Lynch. We've done it before at Sanctuary. We'll invite you to join in as you get it. You feel free to move your body, do a little body percussion. We'll be doing some. My cat Bean is about 2 feet from the mic also doing percussion, so you may get some additional beats in there. I'm going to just do that. There are more waters. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more waters rising, they will find their way to me. There are more waters rising, this I know, this I know. There are more waters rising, this I know. There are more fires burning. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. There are more fires burning, they will find their way to me. There are more fires burning, this I know, this I know. There are more fires burning, this I know. More mountains falling. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. There are more mountains falling, they will find their way to me. There are more mountains falling, this I know, this I know. There are more mountains falling, this I know. But I will wade through the waters. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will walk through the fires. I will walk through the fires, this I know, this I know. I will walk through the fires, this I know. I will walk through the fires when they find their way to me. I will walk through the fires, this I know, this I know. I will walk through the fires, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains when they find their way to me. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know, this I know. I will rebuild the mountains, this I know. I will wade through the waters. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. I will wade through the waters when they find their way to me. I will wade through the waters, this I know, this I know. I will wade through the waters, this I know. Just that last line. I will wade through the waters, this I know. That line again. I will wade through the waters, this I know. One more time. I will wade through the waters, this I know.
Okay. We enter our sacred time together by lighting a chalice. If you have a chalice or a candle at home, you're welcome to light yours with ours, Or you can just take a quiet moment to pause and take a fuller breath. We share these words from the late poet, Mary Oliver.
I don't know who God is exactly, but I'll tell you this. I was sitting in the river named Clarion on a water-splashed stone, and all afternoon I listened to the voices of the river talking.
Whenever the water struck a stone, it had something to say, and the water itself, and even the mosses trailing under the water. And slowly, very slowly, it became clear to me what they were saying.
Said the river, I am part of holiness. And I too, said the stone, and I too, whispered the moss beneath the water.
I'd been to the river before, a few times. Don't blame the river that nothing happened quickly.
You don't hear such voices in an hour or a day. You don't hear them at all if selfhood has stuffed your ears.
And it's difficult to hear anything anyway, through all the traffic, the ambition.
Thank you, Pam and Johnny. That's our first parent-child duo of two this evening. It's great to have you. My name is Jo or Joanna, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm the worship arts lead for the Sanctuary Boston. So it's great to welcome you this evening. I had a great joy putting it together, working with Matt on it. So a few logistical notes. We are recording, as we mentioned earlier. It's up to you whether you want to have your face preserved for potentially being on YouTube later. Feel free to turn off your video if that makes you more comfortable, but it is really great to see each other. So if you're willing, please let yourself be seen. We recommend gallery view if you want to see everyone. It's great to drag and drop if you have the most updated Zoom. You can put all the babies and the pets together. You can put your friends together. It's really lovely. The order of service and links and lyrics to everything will be in the chat box, so you'll want to have that up. I invite you to just experience this service however you need to tonight, and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Whether that is get up and stretch or dance around, sit quietly, sing loudly, add harmonies, any of those are totally welcome. We'll gather throughout the evening with times of song and with words, and then we'll end with some social time with breakout rooms at the end, a chance to share what's going on in your life. Our Director of Operations and Community Life, I think I finally got that title correct, Matt Meyer, is giving our reflection this evening on what architects, masons, and the rivers can teach us about crafting a home by hand. So I'm really excited for that. Looking forward to hearing your message. And just a few words, if this is your first time at Sanctuary Boston, we're so glad to have you here. If this is your 100th time at Sanctuary, we're really glad you're here. If you log on and you think, oh my gosh, what have I just entered into? These people all know each other. Most people don't know most people here. And especially now that we're able to gather through Zoom, it lets us connect from across distance, across countries. It makes me really happy. So really, you are welcome here just as you are. Some of us are from different spiritual communities. Some of us are part of other congregations. And we gather here to be together. One of the ways that we welcome each other is through reading these words of welcome that we say each time. You'll see a few different fonts up on the screen as the words come up. Feel free to read along with Fred and Barb Seidel in a moment and pick whichever fonts or whatever words call to you, and we'll say the final phrase all together.
Whether you go to church on Sunday morning,
or light candles on Friday nights,
whether you've been hurt by religion,
or saved by it,
or some of both, whether you're brand new to spiritual community,
Or seasons.
whoever you are, whatever you are,
wherever you are on your journey,
We welcome you.
Thank you, Seidel fam. And now we take a few moments to greet each other. So in the chat, feel free to say hello to everyone, find some names you know or you don't in the list and say hi to them. Find somebody without their photo up and say hi to them. I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you. Glad you're with us. We'll take about 2 minutes as Mark David offers us some instrumental music to greet by. Invite us all back together and we can continue greeting each other as you will. But I invite us now to turn our attention over to Andrew, who's got a little hashtag sanctuary moment for us.
Thank you, Joanna. Hi, my name's Andrew. It was several years ago now, I left Sanctuary Boston to move to Los Angeles. This was before the time of Zoom. When I returned nearly a year later, I was struck to find my Sanctuary name tag still waiting for me here. It was a reminder that Sanctuary was the spiritual home I had never found in another city. Sanctuary has been there for me, and I try to give back my time and energy. But today, I want to share some of how I think about giving financially to Sanctuary. Basically, I give back to Sanctuary because I get a lot out of it. It's not just that I enjoy our gatherings, although I do, but they enrich my life. I remember a conversation with some folks after a service last year where we talked about the value of relationships and the isolation we sometimes feel. It's times like that when I really feel that my spiritual needs are met in this community. So I give what I can in return for that. I've made a personal commitment to give away 10% of my income to charity, which is challenging, but it's something that it works for my financial situation. But I don't consider Sanctuary a part of that because it's something that I benefit from. So I give an additional 1% of my income to Sanctuary as gratitude for the gifts I've personally received here. So that's how I think about how I value Sanctuary in the present. But that's not the only way I look at it. Like a lot of people here, I went to other churches growing up. As a kid, I wasn't expected to support the church. And as a young adult, I wasn't always secure enough to contribute financially. I'm happy to be in a place now that I can give back. And I appreciate the chance to pay back for some of the blessings that I had as a younger person. But there's another way of looking at it. Sanctuary isn't just for me. And it's not even just for the people who are here right now. It's also for everyone who will benefit from what we're building together in the future. I want Sanctuary to grow and to be successful, not only because it's my spiritual home and I want to be part of something that's growing, but because I know that I really benefit from being here and I want others to be able to have that as well. This community is important and my life is better for being here. I know others need that too, and more resources makes it easier for other seekers to find us. By financially supporting Sanctuary, I'm able to contribute to that vision of the future. So I give what I can to Sanctuary based on the value that I'm receiving in the present and in the past and in the future. This community is making a difference in my life, and I see it making a difference in the lives of others. So I'm doing what I can to say thank you, to pay it back, and to pay it forward. And that's how I think about it. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Andrew. This next song is called Blessed Motion by Annie Zylstra. She wrote it in part when she was inspired by the words of Martin Prechtel, when Prechtel wrote of what it was like to have survived an earthquake in Guatemala. He spoke of what it was like to see the ground beneath his feet, that which had always been so permanent and so solid, suddenly rise up in motion. And he said that the myth of believing in solid ground, that is a myth believed by those who live on the earth, rather than those who live within and as a part of the earth. If you have been searching for some sense of grounding, even as the ground beneath our feet feels like it's constantly shifting, as I have lately, I invite you into the spirit of the song, to be in motion with the earth, to be in movement together. I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the winds of steady change, and the ever-rolling ocean. All moves on in perfect motion. All is change and ever rolling ocean. All moves on. We'll do that low part 2 more times through. Perfect motion. All is change and ever rolling ocean. All moves on in perfect motion. All is change and ever rolling ocean. I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the winds of steady change, and the ever-rolling ocean. I believe in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the wind of steady change, and the ever-rolling ocean. I believe in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the wind of steady change, and the ever-rolling ocean. I believe in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the wind of steady change, and the ever-rolling ocean. believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion, in the winds of steady change, and the ever-rolling ocean. I believed in solid ground until I saw the earth in motion.
In the spirit of making a home by hand, we offer the wisdom of architects. Here is an abbreviated list from 250 Things an Architect Should Know, written by Michael Sorkin, a professor of architecture at City College of New York.
The feel of cool marble under bare feet.
The modulus of rupture.
The flowering season for azaleas.
How to lay bricks.
Hydrology is destiny.
The color wheel.
What the client wants. What the client thinks it wants. What the client needs. What the client can afford. What the planet can afford.
The theoretical basis for modernity and a great deal about its factions and inflections. The history of Soweto. How the pyramids were built. Why?
The pleasures of the suburbs.
The horrors.
The quality of light passing through ice.
The meaninglessness of borders.
The reasons for their tenacity.
The smell of concrete after rain. The angle of the sun at the equinox. The depth of the aquifer beneath you.
How to get lost.
The architectural impact of colonialism on the cities of North Africa. A distaste for imperialism. The fire code. The seismic code. The health code.
The romantics throughout the arts and philosophy.
How to listen closely.
The architectural impact of colonialism on the cities of North Africa.
A distaste for imperialism.
Who profits?
What to refuse to do, even for the money.
A bit of chemistry and physics.
Geodesics, geodetics, geomorphology, geography.
What makes you happy?
What's been accomplished in Medellin?
In Rio.
In Calcutta.
In Curitiba.
In Mumbai.
The acoustical properties of trees and shrubs.
Bicycle safety and etiquette.
The acoustic performance of Boston Symphony Hall.
The distance at which you can recognize faces.
Your neighbors.
The capacity of wetlands to attenuate storm surges.
The depths of desire.
The heights of folly.
Low tide.
The golden and other ratios.
Thank you both. I've made my home by 3 rivers. As a child, my extended family spent some time every summer at a little house in Minnesota on the St. Croix River at the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. We've always called it the lake house, this cabin of wood and stone. The river is wide there, but it's no lake. Well, at least not now. The geologists say that long ago it was a lake, thousands of years ago. I was practically an adult though before I realized this discrepancy. I remember turning to my mom as a teenager when it suddenly clicked for me. All these years we've been calling it the lake house. But you know it's on a river, right? Why don't we call it the river house? How funny to call this home a lake house, named for a thing that hasn't been there in 10,000 years, named for something that isn't there now. Learning of the ancient lake beneath the St. Croix, I felt like my mind grew 3 sizes that day. The world was older than I knew. The world was bigger than I knew. It was more malleable than I could have imagined. Hydrology is destiny, the architects tell us. Hydrology is history also. My great-grandfather built that home. He hired a team of his brothers-in-law and enlisted the help of a pile of children that he put to work, carrying stones up from the beach and laying the mortar. They say that the electrical wiring behind the walls only went as high as the little children could reach. Not necessarily a great way to build a house these days. I don't know the fire code, but I don't think that's how it works anymore. For a child like me, this old cabin may as well have been there since ancient times. It seemed permanent. An ancient house by an ancient river. But something about getting older leaves me feeling like my great-grandfather is closer rather than farther away. And while my heart is warmed by the longevity of that seemingly ancient home, I'm also heartened to think of this time when the home was only an idea, when big family dinners around the table and fires on the beach were just only in my ancestors' imaginations, before that home was built by hand. The mystery of imagining a home and creating it by hand, the mystery of a lake beneath a river, how different things were. How much has changed and how much has stayed the same. This is the lesson of rivers, particularly the waterways where we make our homes and neighborhoods, where we make our civilizations. They are constant and they are constantly changing, history and destiny. Even the things that seem most permanent are constantly in motion. The lesson of rivers, the lesson of handmade homes, should remind us to imagine a different world than the one we inherited. Change is possible. Change is inevitable. Things as they are not always as they were, and what is not what will be. Those of us in Boston are familiar with the Big Dig, but I come from a region shaped by the Big Ditch. The city of Chicago grew up at the intersection of Lake Michigan and the Chicago River. But when the city was transformed by the Industrial Revolution, the river became so disgustingly polluted that during the Great Chicago Fire, the river itself caught fire. It was said that you could walk across the river, not just in the wintertime. And the putrid waters of this river flowed into Lake Michigan, which was a problem because that was the source of the city's drinking water. Eventually, the pollution was so bad that Chicago became known as the typhoid fever city. Not a great reputation to have. So the city embarked on this huge project called the Big Ditch. They dug a canal that reversed the flow of the entire river. The Chicago River has run backwards ever since. For 130 years, the river has drank from Lake Michigan rather than feeding it. And the plan worked. It made for a much cleaner city and much healthier people. It was a huge success. Growing up near the river, I never knew how different it had once been. I knew, of course, that the tall buildings of Chicago were shaped by human hands, but those same hands, the labor of architects and engineers and everyday workers, shaped the river as well. Things as they are not as they always were. What is not what will be. The river had shaped the city, and the city in turn shaped the river. You may be wondering, as I did, Well, what exactly happened to the waste in the Chicago River once it was headed in the other direction? You probably won't be surprised to learn that the farmers and other folks who suddenly found themselves downstream of the city weren't too happy about it. Farmers in Illinois, the whole city of St. Louis, and whole other states that bordered Lake Michigan all took turns suing the city of Chicago, one after another after another. How perfectly American to deal with waste by sending it downstream to someone else. The poet Wendell Berry is a farmer who has a special way with words, and he once summed up the religious traditions, the religious wisdom of the world in his own environmental way, saying, "Do unto those downstream as you would have those upstream do unto you." The wisdom of architects tells us that borders are meaningless. The wisdom of the rivers confirms it. Rivers are conclusive evidence of the meaninglessness of our artificial borders. So is pollution. So are viruses, for that matter. Anyone with a 6th grade science education who learned the basics of the water cycle knows this truth, that on this blue boat home, we all live upstream from each other, and we all live downstream from each other. Water in all its forms, it demonstrates the lie that we are separate from one another. It demonstrates the lie that one people can set policies that don't affect their neighbors, that lines can be drawn in the sand to divide up the interdependent web of all existence into little portions, that for you and this for me. Why is it that so many of the same people who deny climate change also deny the gravity of a global pandemic? Because they are both evidence against the ideology of individualism. They are both evidence against the myth of our separateness. It turns out that sending wastewater west instead of east is no magic. It is not transfiguration. It is only delay. It is sickness afar instead of sickness near. When I left the region of the Chicago backwards river, I came to Boston for college. When I arrived, I landed in an airport built on an artificial island out of the waters of the ocean harbor. And then I rode a train under the ocean to get to my new dorm room, which was itself also built on landfill over what used to be the Charles River. Hydrology as history and destiny. Boston has been so shaped by the water around it that there was a time when Washington Street was the only way to get into the city. And before it was Washington Street, it was just a walking path that was submerged at high tide. The Back Bay, South Bay, Chinatown, Financial District, Seaport District, Thompson Island, Logan Airport, and half of Charlestown were all once water. The Back Bay, where I lived as a student, was created with some serious dedication to this landfill cause. Trains dumped 3,500 railroad cars of gravel into the Back Bay every day for 50 years. Friends, the city of Boston is made up. It's real, but it's made up. The laws and policies, our boundaries and borders, the zoning and transit and parks, and certainly the shorelines were imagined by people and made by hand. The good and the bad of it. None of it is natural. None of it was inevitable. If you disagree, remember that most of the skyline is made of steel and metal built on water. These are the 3 stories of my homes. Along a river that flows over a lake, near a river that flows backwards, and sitting on top of a river filled with gravel. The lessons of rivers, the lesson of handmade homes, should remind us to imagine a different world than the one we inherited. Even the things that seem most permanent are constantly in motion. For many of us, this has been a year dramatically different than the one before, and it's safe to assume that next year will be dramatically different than this one. The pandemic, like the water cycle, is a reminder of our interdependence. That we can't draw made-up lines in the natural world and call them borders and pretend that we don't have an effect on each other. We can't poison the air and the water and overheat the planet and hope that clever engineering will send the problem downstream to someone else. We are bound up together. We all live downstream. Things as they are not as they always were, and what is not what will be. But we know that what is obvious today was unimaginable yesterday, and the rivers remind us that change is constant. So let us imagine something more beautiful and send it downstream. Let's imagine building a more beautiful home together. Let's imagine more equity and make it by hand. Let's imagine a world without borders and make it real. Let's imagine cities and civilizations that thrive along rivers and waterways on this blue boat home. Beloveds, do unto those downstream as you would have those upstream do unto you. May it be so. May we make it so.
Thank you so much, Matt, for that incredibly powerful reflection. My name is Eleuthera DeConca Lippert, and I'm the song leader and choir director at the Unitarian Church of Montreal. And I'm so happy to be here with you this evening and to share Roberta Flack's song, River, with you. The lyrics will be in the chat, and I invite you to sing along. There's a river somewhere, flows through the lives of everyone. Yeah, it flows through the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. There's a star in the sky, brightens the lives of everyone. Oh, I know it brightens the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. All right, let's try that again together from the top, all right? Same thing. There's a river somewhere, flows through the valley of everyone. Yeah, it flows through the valleys and the... Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Flows through the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. There's a star in the sky, brightens the lives of everyone. Oh, I know it brightens the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. Chorus. Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. 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 There's a voice from the past, speaks to the lives of everyone. Oh, yes, it speaks to the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. There's a smile in your eyes, brightens the lives of everyone. I know it brightens the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. 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 There's a sweet song of love, sweetens the lives of everyone. Yeah, and it sings through the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. lives of everyone. And it sings through the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. 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 There's a river somewhere, flows through the lives of everyone. I know it flows through the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. Yes, there's a river somewhere, flows through the lives of everyone. I know it flows through the valleys and the mountains and meadows of time. Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do. 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 Yes, I do. Oh, yes, I do.
Thank you so much, Eleuthera. This evening, Sanctuary Boston will be sharing the offering with the Asian American Resource Workshop, a local political home for Pan-Asian communities in the greater Boston area. They are a member-led organization committed to building grassroots power through political education, creative expression, and issue-based neighborhood organizing. For hundreds of years, America has been a dangerous place for people of Asian ancestry to live, highlighted recently through spates of anti-Asian hate crimes and violence. AARW empowers communities to embrace Pan-Asian culture through an incredible diversity of programs, including activist and anti-oppression trainings, the annual Boston Asian American Film Festival, and LOTUX, a collective of AAPI drag artists committed to fighting for social justice. Some of their current political advocacy work revolves around housing and immigration justice, as well as police and incarceration abolishment in Massachusetts. You may share your gifts by giving to Sanctuary Boston via the links shared on the screen and in the chat. You can add worship or offering in the notes. Thank you for your contributions of all sizes and shapes to help empower local leaders in the cause to protect our AAPI community members.
Every time I feel this way, this old familiar sinking, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. It's been said, and I do believe, as you ask, so shall you receive. So take from me these troubles, bring me sweet release, where the river will never run dry. There is a river in this heart of hearts, with a knowingness of my highest good. I am willing, I will do my part, where the river will never run dry. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. Hallelujah. I'm gonna let myself be lifted. By and by, I will lay my troubles down by the water, where the river will never run dry. This river will never run dry. This river will never run dry. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Beloveds, we arrive here tonight bringing all of the joys and the sorrows of our complex lives. And so we invite you now in this devotional time to tell us what you are carrying. We begin with sorrows. And the chat box is there for you now to write in any sorrows that you want us to know about so that we can witness and help you share that burden, because when we share our sorrows, our burdens are lightened.
is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we rest in this love.
Even in these times of witnessing trauma, experiencing burnout, hatred, pain, we also come bringing joys. This is a community of both and. We know that we are carrying delights, things to celebrate. And so we invite you to use the chat again to write in any joys or celebrations that you want us to know about, because when we share our joys, the joy is magnified.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we rest in this love.
Whatever name you use to connect to the source, to the current, to the hands that hold us, I invite you to get comfortable in your body and make room for the breath. And if it makes sense to you, to hold your chalice or your light. Sometimes when we name what is true for us, when we know that people are taking it in and knowing what is happening with us, it's easier for us to feel loved and connected. And so I begin our prayer by just naming all that we are holding, that our hearts and souls are being asked to stretch open to witness the delights of babies being born and growing up, and the magic of love, and books being published, and medical science allowing us contact. And we're also being asked to witness the unbearable weight of violence, of burnout, of pain and loss and grief, and letting go. And so we remember that just as we connect to one another here and connect to ourselves and whatever wise witness we carry inside of us, that the great river of love, the sweet song of love that sweetens the lives of everyone, weaves its way around us, carrying us forward. As we reflect on that theme of home, and we reflect on the homes that gave us birth and the homes that give us roots, the home of our ancestors and our homelands. We also remember that home is a sense of rightness in knowing who we are, the home of our planet, the homes of our bodies, the homes of our breath, and the shelter of this faith. And so in the days that come, whenever any of us feel adrift or knocked sideways or ripped from our roots, may we come back into whatever sense of home we can find in this heart, in this breath, in the relationships that shower us with love. And may that shelter, that safety, that comfort connect us to the river of love, the current of time that pulls us forward, and back again and again to community, to connections, to each other. May it be so.
Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living sanctuary. Make us aware we are a sanctuary. We're each made holy and loved right through with thanksgiving. We are a living
words, what is obvious today was unimaginable yesterday. The rivers remind us that change is constant. Things as they are not always as they were, and what is not what will be. The wisdom of architects and the wisdom of the rivers reminds us that borders are meaningless. So do unto those downstream, as you would have those upstream do unto you, because all of us live downstream from all of us. Go in peace, go in love, and go and be blessed as you are a blessing to others.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. It's a stream of love. It's a stream of love that can set me free. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. Where our rivers meet, there's a mighty sea. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and I feel its power in our harmony. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and I see in you what I feel in me. There's a river flowing in my soul, and I see in you what I feel in me. There's a river flowing in my soul, and I see in you, and I see in you what I feel in me. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. River flow in me. River flows through me. Keep that river flowing